when we think about weather, the beauty of it, in addition to being privacy friendly, is that it's future proofed. It's scalable. We don't believe in walled gardens. Yes, you can go ahead and a marketer can go ahead and leverage weather that runs across our owned and operated properties, but we're making weather available across DSPs and SSPs and search and social and
Wow.
CTV and MarTech and out of home with, great partners like Vistar. And so it's a solution that can scale and therefore I think becomes a really viable and critical solution for the next era of digital marketing.
You are listening to Power Marketing.
Hello, welcome to eMarketing Association's interview series on modern day marketing. My name is Greg Licciardi. Along with being head of partnerships for Worth Media Group, I am also a professor of marketing at Seton Hall and Fordham Universities. Today, I'm actually at Seton Hall University doing this interview. And it's my pleasure to introduce Randi Stipes, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at The Weather Company. Randi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Greg, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Oh, it's so great to have you. And you have such an amazing career. I know you started off in editorial. You were an internet editor at one point. And I'd love to hear what your journey looked like coming to your current role at the Weather Company.
Oh my gosh, you're going to take me down memory lane, aren't you? Listen, those were the good old days, and it has been a fun and wild ride. I'll spare you my resume, but
Sure.
if you'll indulge me in a quick story, I think that will answer your question.
Great.
So yes, early on, I had aspirations of being a broadcast journalist. I thought I wanted to be the next Diane Sawyer. I went to school for it. I interned in this space, and I was an intern at a local TV station in Sacramento, California. And the news director at that station suggested that we look into this thing called the World Wide Web. I mean, let me put this in perspective. This was the early 90s.
Right.
He was actually quite progressive. He thought that it would be a good idea to take the news rundown, everything that we had shared on air, and post it on the internet for anyone who had missed the live broadcast. I'm really dating myself when you think about this technology. But I was the most junior person on the team, so it fell to me to figure out this thing called the internet. And so I went to Barnes and Noble, like the actual brick and mortar store. I bought HTML for Dummies, and I taught myself HTML. And I remember there was an incredibly kind and generous, very patient engineer named Carl at the station who kind of guided me through it. He kind of dabbled in HTML in his spare time. And flash forward a few months, we launched the first website in that region for the TV station. And I share this story, Greg, because we all have those moments in our career that fundamentally change the trajectory of what we do and who we are, that really shape us. And it was that experience that helped me pinpoint my passion, which is really twofold. It made me realize that I love driving transformation. At that time, it was transforming how we disseminate information to people. So understanding and really leaning into new channels and ultimately helping businesses and brands evolve. And then the second thing that's really been a common thread in my career, and one of the things that's kept me in the weather category for 2 decades, is making an impact, not only as an individual, but as a team. How do we make a collective impact on society and on the planet?
That's amazing. Well, you're clearly doing that so well. And what an interesting story on how you started from the early days in the internet. And the Weather Company, I've been taking time to do research. And when I was on your website, I saw a great quote. And the quote was, "Universal and powerful, weather has a serious effect on people's emotions and behaviors." So how does that play into what the Weather Company provides to marketers? If you could speak to that.
Yeah, I'm happy to. We like to say that weather is the original influencer. As great as I think Taylor Swift is, let's admit it, like weather, so much admiration, but weather was there first and is the original influencer. And while I have to credit my team with that amazing line, I love it because there's so much truth to it. Think about your own routine. Think about how much weather impacts your decisions. The minute that you wake up, from the minute you go to bed, what to wear, what you eat, what you try, how you feel, what you plan, where you travel. Like I could go on and on, like when you protect your family. And I think some of those decisions that we make are very conscious, like what I chose to wear this morning. I looked outside, I saw the weather, I checked my app, that determined when to take shelter. But so many of those decisions that weather is influencing are really in our subconscious, like what we eat, what products we might try. And at the Weather Company, what we've done is we've amassed more than 40 years of historical data to understand how weather drives consumer behavior. And when you think about it, like we're all swimming in data, right? There's no shortage of data out there. And data in and of itself is valuable. As the world's most accurate forecaster, it starts there for us and upholding that standard of excellence and trust. But it doesn't end there. It's the insights that we extract from the data. That's the gold. And when you think about, right, like that's the goodness. And it's the insights that make the data actionable. It's when we can arm a business with that intelligence. And at the Weather Company, we serve a variety of industries, but specifically talking about marketing. If we can help a business and a brand understand the conditions that drive consumer behavior, that ultimately are going to drive purchase, like it's pretty cool. It's pretty gratifying, especially because weather's becoming increasingly volatile. We can't just rely on these seasonal norms where it's summertime and that means this. I mean, there was a tropical storm in Southern California this year. So it's understanding the nuances and the relativity and the fact that weather is changing, and therefore that has a dramatic downstream impact on consumer behavior.
Oh, it absolutely does. Weather affects every aspect of our lives, our planning, our consumer behavior. It's so true. And I think when we spoke earlier, I think you referred to these different characteristics as signals, like signals that marketers can use. And that's really powerful. And the other thing that's happening in our marketing ecosystem, we're all looking at this as the cliff that's coming, is the cookies going away. When marketers target consumers and retarget them, that software, that cookie that follows them has been so powerful for marketers to target consumers and retargeting them. And that's going away because of privacy issues and the new privacy laws. So how will the Weather Company, how is the value proposition of the Weather Company being affected by that change?
Yeah, finally, right, the demise of the cookie. It's interesting as we're getting ready to go to CES in January. I keep thinking, is AI going to continue to be the buzzword, or is the cookie going to be the buzzword? But listen, regardless, consumers and regulators we know are demanding privacy, and they should. When I put my consumer hat on, like it's time. But let's face it, yes, that's also making our job as marketers more challenging because we still have to deliver value to our businesses. We still need to deliver value to our audiences. And, specifically at the Weather Company, we've been prepared for the cookie to go away for a long time. We're happy that the industry is catching up, and we feel like we can help in three ways. When we think about weather as a signal, to your point, when you break it down, three things. First, like we've been talking about, weather is a highly effective contextual targeting signal. Like it has this proven impact on consumer behavior and our emotion, and therefore what we buy. Second, when we think about weather, not only as a consumer experience, and a data signal. It's not targeting specific audiences
Hmm.
based on identifiers or PII.
Hmm.
Rather, what we're doing is we're looking at the weather conditions that someone's experiencing at that exact moment. That's not PII. And then third, the fact is that our industry right now needs enduring solutions. We don't need a quick and dirty cookie replacement. We need something that as marketers is going to endure and that's going to scale. I don't want to have to go through this in another 2 years. I don't think any of us, want to
No,
go through this again. And so when we think about weather, the beauty of it, in addition to being privacy friendly, is that it's future proofed. It's scalable. We don't believe in walled gardens. Yes, you can go ahead and a marketer can go ahead and leverage weather that runs across our owned and operated properties, but we're making weather available across DSPs and SSPs and search and social and
wow.
CTV and MarTech and out of home with, great partners like Vistar. And so it's a solution that can scale and therefore I think becomes a really viable and critical solution for the next era of digital marketing.
It sure does. Wow. Along with teaching marketing for 8 years, I have always looked at performance-based marketing, how to measure it, how to optimize it. And about a year ago, I started writing a book called The Holy Grail of Marketing, which is all about the ability of a marketer to reach the right person at the right time with the right message in the right environment, delivering the right results.
Yeah.
And what you just shared about the signals and what weather company delivers to marketers with the contextual messaging that they can have is so powerful and really exemplifies and embodies the holy grail of marketing. Would you maybe have an example of something, an account that weather company has worked with that use these different aspects to help them achieve success?
Well, first, can I say I can't wait to read the book.
Oh, thank you.
A holy grail that should be required reading for everyone. And yes, we've been fortunate to partner with some great brands across a variety of industries, brands that really understand the power that weather has on their business. And I'd like to say, instead of, kind of succumbing to Mother Nature, they harness the power of Mother Nature and put it to
Yeah,
work for their business, right? And so it's hard to narrow it down. Can I give you two examples?
sure. That'd be great.
So I think the common thing with both of these examples is that it always starts with an insight. And by the way, I think that just any great campaign, leveraging weather or beyond, you always want to start with that key insight. So
Yeah.
first example is with CeraVe. So CeraVe is L'Oreal's dermatologist developed skincare brand. Great brand, iconic. It has a loyal following. And CeraVe was looking to build brand awareness and reach shoppers under 35 years old and a multicultural audience to drive
Hmm.
sales. Pretty popular, but often elusive target, right? To reach that 35 audience, multicultural, which we all know is so important, but can be challenging. And so really the insight that we started with is understanding that millennials, Gen Z, and multicultural audiences, they look to changing seasons
Huh.
as an opportunity to refresh their personal skincare routines. It's really that
Hmm.
shift in the seasons. And so CeraVe leveraged weather intelligence to build brand awareness, with new audiences as summer turned to spring. And
Interesting.
they ultimately generated sales lift. They went well beyond their benchmarks of return on ad spend. What they found is that the majority of their incremental sales was driven by these new buyers. Now,
Wow.
going back to what we were talking about around the volatility and the changing nature of weather, I think what makes this so powerful is it's not just saying, okay, the summer's on day one, and therefore everyone is changing their skincare routine on day one. because what I'm experiencing in terms of a shift from spring to summer being based here in Florida is going to be a very different time and condition that one say someone in Nebraska might be
Absolutely.
experiencing, right? So it's really leveraging, we loved partnering with them to understand what really signifies that shift in seasons and therefore shift in behavior that's going to make a skincare enthusiast more apt to try a new product.
Wow. And that plays right into reaching the right consumer at the right time with the right message contextually based on the weather, the changing of the seasons, and then reaching them with the product to use in that changing season that's so dynamic. Wow, that's a great, thank you so much for
Want me to
sharing.
give you one more?
Oh, wonderful. Sure. Please
Okay.
go for it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I have to, I've got to share when brands are doing really smart work, like we've got to showcase them, right?
Absolutely.
So I mentioned it always starts with an insight. So Toyota is another great example. They started with the insight that 80% of people check the weather more frequently when they're planning road trips. Okay, that makes
I would
sense.
agree
That's
with that.
logical, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, pretty high number. And so, as part of their longstanding Let's Go Places campaign, Toyota had a kind of an interesting challenge for us. They were only interested in reaching people during optimal weather moments. And we were able to arm them with intelligence that, what's optimal in a given market so that and a dynamic solution that allowed them to activate so that they would only serve an inspiring message. Like, you're not going to want to tell people to go out and let's go places when the weather's not optimal, right? That actually could backfire in a lot of ways and could be quite dangerous. So arming Toyota with the intelligence that helped them understand those optimal moments to run that message was really powerful for them. They ran on the Weather Channel's digital properties. Their results were incredibly impressive. I want to say it was like 42% higher click-through rate. And they saw, this is what was so impressive. They saw a 4 times decrease in the brand's cost per site visit. And as I mentioned earlier, yes, they had a lot of success running within a contextual environment like the Weather Channel app or, on weather.com. But again, the beauty of that decisioning is that whether it's Toyota or any other brand can take that same intelligence and run it across the entire, marketing ecosystem. That's the holy grail, right? Is when you have a scalable solution.
The scalable solution that's optimized, that has intelligence from these signals that offer contextual messaging that's in tune with the consumer's interest, these road trips they're taking, is so powerful. And congratulations. Wow. What amazing case studies. And it's been so great having you on this program. And I look forward to having more conversations with you. And thank you for complimenting my book. It should be out in about 8 months. You can go to holygrailofmarketing.org to find out more. And for Weather Company, I encourage everyone to check them out because this is powerful data and really excited to learn more about what you're doing. But before we leave, I'd love to hear what you're most excited about in the future for the Weather Company.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll give you a one-word answer. Growth. I'm most excited about growth. Our business is having a bit of a full circle moment. We were a standalone company before we joined IBM roughly 8 years ago. And we're in the process now of separating from IBM, conscious, healthy uncoupling. As we become a standalone company yet again. And so I couldn't be more excited to take the best of what we've learned at our time at IBM, our rigor around privacy, a greater understanding of AI, certainly our commitment to sustainability. And now we just get to move with a greater velocity. We're ready to be unleashed and bring even greater value to the market, to new markets, and to the world. So I'm really excited about transforming how we work, but then continuing to partner with brands and companies and help them transform how they work.
Amazing. And I look forward to chronicling your growth because I'm sure it's going to be really exciting and having more conversations. So thank you again, Randi. I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Take care.
Thanks so much, Frank.